Okay, so welcome to another Ginger Mathematician video. We're going to continue with this paper 4. Let's go straight on to question 7. So A is the point 32 and B is the point 95. So we are given these on our diagram. I tend to like to write this in, just so it reminds me what they are. And we need to find the length of AB for a pretty generous 3 marks. So let me draw this line in. So we've got the line AB. I'm really not known for my line drawing, and we want to find the length of this. So the way we do this is the standard procedure. So we are going to make a right angle triangle out of what we have here. Okay, as soon as you see a line segment kind of question, you need to be thinking right angle triangles and then Pythagoras. That's what comes with it. So let's work out then what the lengths of my triangle are. So notice the x-coordinate here is 3. The x-coordinate here is 9. What's the difference between 3 and 9? That's going to be equal to 6. We do the same thing for the y. So what's the difference between 2 and 5? That's going to be 3. And at this point, we can use Pythagoras. So AB squared is the same as 3 squared plus 6 squared. Again, most of these things you can use a calculator to work out. 3 squared is 9. 6 squared is 36. 36 plus 9 is 45. But remember, this is AB squared. So to get our final answer for AB, well, what's the opposite of squaring? Well, square rooting. So we need to square root the 45 at the end. And this is the paper 4. So we're just going to use a calculator to work this out. Here's a handy one I've got. So I go Control, square root, 45. Press the enter button and I generate my number here, 6.7082. Remember, we always round to 3 significant figures. So I'm going to go back. And what I would do in the exam is write down what's on my calculator and then round it afterwards. So we're going to round to 3 significant figures, first, second, third. Because we've got an 8 here, we're going to round the 0 up to 1. So we get 6.71. I don't think there are any units involved here. We weren't told any units, so that is fine. Next question, we need to find the equation of the line AB. Give your answer in the form y equals mx plus c. Now the good thing about doing the method that I've done here is that we've kind of worked out some of the information that we need. Remember, the gradient is equal to rise over run. Depends on your teacher, they will teach you different things. Or the change in y over the change in x. Or that formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The thing is here, we've actually got the information we require. Okay, so the rise is going to be 3, and the run is going to be 6. So the gradient is going to be equal to 3 over 6, which if we simplify our fraction is equal to a half. So by using this method, we've kind of got some bonus information for this question here. At this point, I can then write my line in the form of y equals mx plus c. And now I know that m, the gradient, is equal to a half. So I just write down y equals a half plus c. But I need to work out this constant. And the way we can do that is just taking any of the coordinates. We can take this one, or we can take this one, and we substitute it in. So when x is equal to 3, y is equal to 2, and we're going to put that in here. So where I see a y, I'm going to put a 2. Where I see an x, I'm going to put a 3. And let me continue this slightly over here. So we've got a half times 3 is 3 over 2 plus c. And now we're going to minus 3 over 2 from both sides, which is 1.5. You can use a calculator for any of this. And 2 minus 3 over 2, that's going to be 1 over 2. But again, use your calculator to confirm. Okay, and then we have to write our answer in. So I'm going to write y equals a half x plus a half. Notice the marks can actually use decimals, but again, fractions is absolutely fine. That's a nice 6 marks to get in the middle of an exam, yeah? It should make you feel comfortable here to get those 6 marks, and then we'll go on to the harder questions. Okay, so now we're given an extra point. C is the point 8, 2. So let's put that roughly on our diagram so we've got an idea of where it is. 8, 2, well that's going to be along here somewhere because this is 2. So let's pop it here. Let's pop it there of 8, 2 to make it more or less, in the right place. And what do we need to do with it? Find the equation of the line perpendicular to AB which passes through C. So let me draw this visually. So what we're looking for is a line like this that goes through C and is perpendicular to AB. Okay, so it's slightly different than the perpendicular bisector. We're just looking for a perpendicular line that goes through C. Right, so the first thing we need to do is work out the gradient of the green line. Well, let's have a think about that. There we are. So the gradient of AB was a half. So the gradient of the green line, well, there is a formula here, but the way I tend to teach this is to work out the gradient of a perpendicular. We flip the fraction, so we get 2 over 1. And then we switch the sign. So we have a plus here, so we're going to switch that to a minus. Again, we don't usually write this, minus 2 over 1. We just write this as minus 2. So the gradient of the green line, the steepness of the green line, is equal to minus 2. At this point, we do this very similar to how we did the previous question. We write it in general form, y equals mx plus c, y equals minus 2x plus c. And at this point, we substitute this coordinate in because we know it's on the line. So when x is equal to 8, y is equal to 2. Let's pop that in. So 2 is equal to minus 2 times 8 plus c. Always running out of room here. There we are. We're close. So I think at this point, you add 16 on both sides. Then we get c is equal to 18. And so we put this back into the general equation. So perpendicular line will have the equation y equals minus 2x plus 18. Just be careful, it just wants a perpendicular line, doesn't want a perpendicular bisector, i.e. you do not need a midpoint in this case. Okay, and we are going to continue. So find the coordinates of the point where the line in part C intersects B. Okay, so we see this green line that I drew kind of randomly. And now we actually want to find this point here. Do we have a name for this point? Nope. We're just going to find that random point. Now notice this is the intersection of two lines. Now we've got the equation of both lines. We've got this one. So let me write this down. So we've got y equals a half x plus a half. And then we've got the previous one. So y equals minus 2x plus 18. Now, if they intersect, then it means that these two equations are equal to each other. So we set the right-hand sides equal to each other. What that means in practice is a half x plus a half is equal to minus 2x plus 18. At this point, we solve this like a normal equation. So what I would do first is bring the x's to one side. So I'd add 2x on both sides. That's going to give me 5 over 2x, okay, because this is 4 over 2. Okay, if you're not sure about that, you can convert it to decimals, so that makes you feel better. Plus a half is equal to 18. There's a reason I've kept it as a half, as we'll see shortly. So if we minus a half from both sides, I'm just going through it nice and steadily. Ignore my alarm. So minus a half from both sides, this cancels with this. Okay, I should have said this cancels with this, that's why it disappears. Then we get 5 over 2x. Well, 18 minus a half is 17 and a half, which is the same as 35 over 2. The reason I've kept it all like this, I can now cancel this from both sides. And notice I've got a really nice equation out of this. And I'm going to get the coordinate of x equals 7. I'm not finished at this point. So we've got the 7 coordinate, but now we need to work out what the y coordinate is. You can substitute now 7 into either of these equations. So I'm going to substitute it into this one, but it doesn't matter which one. So when x is equal to 7 and y is equal to minus 2 lots of 7 plus 18, we work through algebra and then we get the answer of 4. Again, please do feel free to stop the video if I've gone through a little bit too fast. That's absolutely fine. That's why we have the videos. It makes your life much easier. Okay, part E, D is a reflection of C in the line AB. Okay, reflection of C in the line AB. Okay, so D. Right, so D's going to be up here somewhere. So I've continued this line, and this would be D. It will be on the same line because it's perpendicular. And what we need to work out is the coordinates of that. Yeah, coordinates of D. Okay, the first thing that will come to mind is writing that intersection coordinate that we just worked out. So 7, 4. So this was 7, 4. And then we think to ourselves, well, this distance needs to be the same as this distance. So there's a gap of 1 between 8 and 7. So there needs to be a gap of 1 between 7 and this coordinate. Therefore, this would be equal to 6. And the same principle applies here. So there should be a gap of 2 between 2 and 4. So we need a gap of 2 between these coordinates. So we need to add on extra 2. And that gives us our coordinate of 6, 6. For 2 marks. Be interesting to see what they say for working here. Okay, they don't give any marks for working here. They just say you get 1 mark for each coordinate. Okay, and now we need to know the special name of quadrilateral ACBD. Let's make this so ACBD. Aha, okay, so let me use a different colour so we can see exactly what shape they want. So A to C, like this. Now, the better you make your drawing, the easier it is to see what shape this is. I think I've done a pretty decent job of this. I think we can see that this is a kite, yeah, because this distance is the same as this distance. That's one of the definitions of it being a kite. So we just write in the correct mathematical word, which is kite. Like so. Okay, and on to question F. So we need to find the area of this quadrilateral ACBD. And I did have a think about this, and I don't like the way the mark scheme does it. So what I'm going to do is draw this out again. So I'm going to draw out the rough kite that we have. I'll try and do it to decent scale. So we've got A, D, C, B. Okay. And the general formula for working out a kite is to take these two sides I'm putting in, times them together and divide by 2. Now we already know AB, we already know this is root 45, so all we need to do is find DC, which we can do by using right angled triangles, so the same way we did the previous question. So D was 6, 6, that's a coordinate, C was 8, 2, down here. So we can work out the length of the line segment using Pythagoras in the same way we did before. So we've got the height, the difference between 6 and 2 is 4. The difference between 6 and 8 is 2. So we can use Pythagoras to work this out. So we get x squared is equal to 2 squared plus 4 squared. X squared is equal to 20. So x is equal to root 20. So then to work out the area of this, all we do, the area is going to be root 45 times root 20 divided by 2. If we put that into a calculator, so I'll just do that now. So root 45 root 20 divided by 2, that gives you the answer of 15, which is the exact answer, the precise answer. So we get the answer of 15. There are no units in this case, no centimetres squared or anything like that. I think the mark scheme wanted to use like AC and CB and do it in a similar kind of way. But I think this makes much more logical sense. But again, feel free to leave a comment in the comments what you think, whether you think there's an easier way than doing it what I how I did here. I'll just show you the mark scheme though. It's always interesting to see how they do it as well and where you pick up the marks. So again, pause your video. You can go through yourself. You're doing it with me. And then the last question here, which I didn't follow any of these methods as far as I'm aware. Actually, I think I did this method here instead. I think that makes more logical sense than this one here. Before we move on, of course, the exams report. So most people did well in the first 3 parts of the question, which makes sense. It's pretty standard. Lining perpendicular lines, etc. But yeah, as we went through into D, for example, realizing that you can just equate it. I think that was part D or part E. And also, you need to find the midpoint. That wasn't the case. You need to find the intersection point instead. Again, clearly drawing diagrams. Notice I thought it was a little bit overwhelming. So what I did is I drew what I needed for the question and then put in the correct information. And that helped me shape my thinking for working out the correct solution. And if you're liking the content that you're watching currently, then please do consider liking and subscribing and sharing with your friends as well. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to question 8. So bag A contains 5 black balls and 2 white balls. Bag B contains 4 black balls and 5 white balls, as in the diagram. Gustav, I always like their names, picks 1 ball at random from bag A and replaces it. So that's very, very important when we're looking at these kind of questions. Write down the probability that the ball Gustav picks is black. Well, if we look at bag A, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black balls, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 balls in total. So we get our answer of 5/7, like so. And Sharia picks 1 ball at random from bag A, notes its colour, and places it in bag B. Interesting. And then picks a ball at random from bag B. So I think this is a 2-part question. Both balls are white and then 1 of each, I think. Yeah, exactly. So if I was to do a question like this, I would certainly draw a tree diagram. It will make your life a lot easier for just working out the answers that we need. So I'm going to put in black and white, BW. You could also use B and B dash if you so wish. And we're just going to draw a quick tree diagram. It doesn't have to be the neatest thing in the world, but you do need to have that there. So let's go through. Picks a black ball. Well, we've already done that part, so that's 5/7. And probabilities always have to add up to 1, so this needs then to be 2/7. Helps if I can add 5 plus 2 is 7. There we are. I'm kind of thinking ahead to the next part of the question. So, the probability of a black ball from bag A, 5/7, and the probability of a white ball is 2/7. Now he takes that black ball, or she takes that black ball at this point, and puts it in bag B. So imagine we're going along this branch here, and I put an extra black ball. I should probably do that in black. Make it a little bit easier. So I put a black ball into bag B, and now we take a ball out at random from bag B. So notice now we've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black balls out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 5 tenths for black, and again these always have to add up to 1, so then we get 5 tenths there like so. Okay, and then at this point what we do is we imagine we go back to the beginning. So I'm going back to the beginning of my situation. Now I put in a white ball. So I indicate that by a circle like this. And we go through the same logical process. So we count how many black balls. We now got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4. How many in total? We've got 10 like before. Notice these fractions will always have the same denominator. And this will then be equal to 6/10. Once you've got your diagram, it makes your life a lot easier to work out the next 2 parts of the question. So the probability that both balls are white, we're going to work out probability of white, is we just multiply these 2 fractions together. Multiply along the branches. So we get 2/7 multiplied by 6/10, which gives us 12/70. Now, I've said in previous videos that I don't really mind if you don't simplify. The same thing here, but I am going to simplify this down to 6/35. Although strictly speaking, this is not necessary, but try and get into good habits. So this is going to be 6/35. Notice for the next question, one ball is black and the other ball is white. I've done a lot of the hard work here, okay? And it doesn't matter what order this is in as far as I can tell. So one ball is black and the other ball is white. So we're looking for the probability of white-black and the probability of black-white, and then we take each probability and add them together. So let's work this out. Probability of white-black, well, it's going to be going along this route. So we've got 4 over 10 times 2 over 7. Should do it the other way around, really. Put this in brackets. White-black, and then we do black-white. So we get 5 over 7 times 5 over 10. Again, I'm not going to reach my calculator, but you could at this point. We times fractions here. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 times 7 is 70. 5 times 5 is 25. 7 times 10 is 70. Notice we've got the same denominator. That's very, very helpful. If we add those together, 25 plus 8 is 33 over 70, which cannot be simplified. So we will leave this as 33 over 70. All good. Draw your tree diagrams. Okay, so now we're going on beyond the standard questions, and now they'll try and change the context slightly for this. So the balls are returned to their original bag. So if I go back to my original diagram, I would do this in the exam to remind me. I would wipe out anything I've done so far. Okay. Gene picks a ball at random from bag A. He then replaces the ball. Let's underline that. He continues to do so until he gets a white ball. Find the probability that the first time he gets a white ball is on the 5th pick. So basically what's going to happen here is you're going to pick 4 black in a row, yeah? Before then you get to pick the white ball on the 5th pick. Okay, so we need to work out that probability. So, and then we get white afterwards, of course. So we're going to go through this one at a time. Does replace the ball, so that's important. So we've got 5 over 7. Then he tries to pick another black ball, so this is our second time. The probability hasn't changed because the ball goes back. This is our third time. This is our 4th time. And now on the 5th go, we'll now choose a white ball. Notice no balls have been removed from the bag, so we've now got 2 out of 7. So we have a very, very long fraction to work out, which I am going to do on my calculator. Okay, I'm not doing this, we're doing this. Okay, so let me get my GDC out. So control, divide for the fraction, 5 over 7 times, this is going to take patience, so control, 5 over 7. And the key thing here is just not to make a mistake. 5 over 7. We've now got to our 4th try. 5 over 7. Weird question, I haven't seen a question like this on iGCSE. And then 2 over 7. We get some horrible big fraction. There we are. 1,250 over 16,807. Again, 2-mark question. So I'd write that working I've just written and then write the answer. So 1,250 over 16,807. Okay, key thing is just I'd write your logic here. So 4 black in a row and then a white. Okay, because otherwise the white's already picked. The balls are returned to their original bags. Leanne picks a ball at random from bag B. She continues to do this without replacement until she gets a white ball. The probability that she picks the first white ball in her nth attempt is this fraction here, 5 over 126. Find the value of n. I think I would do this by a trial and error procedure. Now notice we've got without replacement, so we need to be a bit careful. So we need to work out the black ball. So we go back. The probability of getting a black ball here is 4 out of 9. 9. 9 out of 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 9. 9 Okay, now obviously that's not 5 over 26. So then we get times. Now we've chosen a black ball at this point, so we're going to choose another black ball. So that's going to be 3 over 8. Now what I would do is actually check this. So this is equal to 12 over 72, which I think we can see is not the same as this fraction. This is far too big. Yeah, so this is too big. I think I take this in a trial and error, and then I would just keep going. So 4/9 times 3/8 times 2/7. Multiply those together, we get 24 over, 9 times 8 times 7. That gives you 504. Now, is that the same fraction? I think on site you can see this. You can also write this as 1 over 21. And I think we can see here these are not the same. So that's fine. But now we want to work out, then we take this and then times it by the white ball. So say we've got 3 black in a row, we would then need to times by the probability of getting a white ball at this point. So at this point, we've then got 6 balls in the bag, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are white. So if we do 1/23 times 5/6, that does give us the fraction that we want, 5 over 126. So the way this works is it'll be 3 black balls, then there's 1 white ball. So it'll be the 4th attempt, so n is equal to 4, where this actually occurs. Now you could check this after 2, so you could do 4 over 9 times 3 over 8 times then 5 over 7, because there are 5 white balls and 7 balls in total. If you work this out, you get 60 over 504, and we can pretty straightforwardly see this is not the same as 5 over 126. So it can't be n is equal to 3. So I've just done this by a trial and error method, and then that gives us the answer of n equals 4. I think that's probably the most straightforward way to go about this. Okay, quick look at the mark scheme so you can have a look through. Just make sure you understand the OE, which is or equivalent. I think, if I remember rightly, this is, you can't just write down the number 4, you have to show corresponding working to that as well. This question was generally well answered by students, so you can see the majority were okay. The thing with part D is there's no standard method. All you need to do there is make sure you're happy with a trial and error method, and then you get to the right answer. So it's not as if you need to learn anything off by heart in order to answer that question. Okay, and our last question here is a cumulative frequency question. So this is pretty standard. So we're going to use the graph to estimate the median. Now, strictly speaking, to work out the median, which is Q2, you would actually do 120, that's the total amount of students, plus 1 divided by 2, which is the 60.5th value. Obviously, on a graph point of view, the difference between 60 or 60.5, halfway, is not going to make actually much difference. But strictly speaking, it should be 60.5. And at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take 60 or 60.5, we're going to go all the way across, try and be as straight as possible, use a ruler, of course, in the exam, and then we come down. Easy marks if you know how, and then we read off 50. Interquartile range, remember interquartile range, IQR, is equal to upper quartile, that's 3/4 of the data, minus lower quartile, 1/4 of the data. So what we would do to work out lower quartile, LQ, is we take that 120. Officially it should be plus 1, but I'm just going to write this as over 4. So you get the 30th value, that's 1/4 of the data, and I think we can see here the upper quartile will be 3 lots of the lower quartile, which is the 90th value. So do know these definitions. I'm going to use a different color pen so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go across to 30. Try and make sure I'm accurate as possible here. I might get a slight error and then come down. I think that's a scale of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I think that's 38 for my lower quartile. I'm going to write that there. Now I do my upper quartile, which is 90. So I go 90 all the way across. I mean, they've made it so that it hits on the line. So if you're accurate, you should get a clear answer. I'll be ecstatic if I get exactly the right answer. That's 62. So then you just do 62 minus 38, and that gives you 24. According to the mark scheme, that is exactly correct. So that makes me certainly on the happy side. Right, let's have a look at question B. So the top 15% of the students gained a grade A in their examination. Estimate the minimum mark for a grade A. So what we would do here is essentially we're looking for the 85th percentile. So we find 85% of 120. That's going to be equal to 102. Again, the way you'd work this out on the calculator is just do 0.85 times 120. So I'm going to go to 102, just a little bit above 100. And this is going to be quite difficult to do on screen. I think I get to here. I'm just before 70. Okay, I think I'm on that line. I think they've done that on purpose. So then that's going to be 68. Yep, that is an acceptable answer. So that's going to be your minimum grade. So essentially here what they're looking for is 85% of the data. So you do a very similar process to the lower quartile. Quickly show you the answers. Answers are here. So 50, 24, and then 68 or 69. Quick look at the examiner's report. So very well answered question. Most candidates got this correct, but make sure you've revised how to read off from a cumulative frequency diagram. Right, I'm going to stop there. I've done 3 questions here. I'll try and get the last 3 questions done as well. All right, bye-bye for now.